This conversation will be led by our wonderful partners in crime, i.e. University, by Francisco Machín, their Chief Data and Information Officer, and they'll be discussing the opportunities in entrepreneurship and collaboration, and particularly around leadership as related to data. So please join me in giving a big, warm South Summit welcome, please, to Francisco Machín and Folajimi Daodu, the founder and CEO of VaultHill. Folks, thank you for being here with us. Stage is yours.
Hello. Well, good morning, everyone. And welcome to a new fireside chat we're going to have today, this morning in the arena. Today we are going to have a fantastic session lined up on a topic that is both timely and transformative. How AI is reshaping entrepreneurship and leadership. To go deep into this topic, I joined by Folajimi Daodu, Jimmy for the friends, right, Jimmy? Yeah. CEO of VaultHill. The floor is yours, Jimmy, to introduce the audience.
Kiko, thank you for having me, and lovely to be here. Thank you all for your time as well. My name is Folajimi Daodu. Where do I start from? Okay, I'll get you guys to know me. So I'm Nigerian-British. I live in Dubai. I run a company called VaultHill. Started off with the metaverse and then pivoted into AI and gaming. So a lot of what the panelists on the last stage were talking about around child safety was very important and very relevant. Background-wise, worked with Barclays, led the divestment between Barclays and ABSA in South Africa. Worked with Expedia, led the integration of Hotels.com into Expedia, and then got bored after a period of time and said, hey, I think I could do this by myself. And I was like, hey, I want to go run my own business, you know. And I thought it was going to still be 9 to 5, but it's literally 24/7. It's actually more than 24/7. So yeah, VaultHill is 3 years old, and I'm glad to be here today.
Nice to be. Well, over the next 30 minutes, we are going to cover some key aspects like how AI is reshaping the way decision-making is reshaping by the leadership, and how AI is helping us, human beings, to take better and better decisions to enhance us, to accompany us, right? We are going to cover also a very key aspect that is the opportunities and challenges that they are going to have, the entrepreneurs, in the next and in the coming years. And obviously, we need to talk also about the ethical aspects that all the entrepreneurs and also the leadership need to manage for the next years. I'm Kiko Machín, Chief Data and Analytics Officer at University, and it's a pleasure to be here today with you guys, with you, Jimmy.
Same here, thank you.
So, you know, back then, leadership used to take their decisions based on their experience, based even in their intuition, right? But now, with artificial intelligence, they are able to have predictive models to help them to improve their decisions. Even with Gen AI, they are able to create synthetic data to improve their predictive models that they have done the last 5 years, for example. So, Jimmy, from your perspective, how AI is transforming the way leadership, they are taking their decisions?
Thanks for the question. Very interesting question, and it's very interesting looking backwards in terms of the last 10 years, right? I remember my time at Barclays. A lot of the decision making was based on structured and unstructured data, right? You know, based on people's experience of how they've done things before, just like how you said. And with AI coming into the main media or mass adoption, with ChatGPT. Actually, let me just ask the audience, folks, how many of you have used ChatGPT? Okay. How many of you know the background behind ChatGPT, i.e. the large language models and all of that? Great, okay. So it just shows that, hey, the technicalities of the background is not really relevant. It's more of the application and the benefits, the application does for us. So nowadays, a lot of leaders have started, embracing AI. Some still do it from a PR and innovation perspective. Oh, we're working on AI, we're working on AI. And then there's some that actually use AI in the boardrooms. They create their own bespoke model of, large language models and train that with, company data outside of the internet and are able to make decisions that impact the organization economically and financially. 61% of CEOs in the Middle East, for example, have, actually said that generative AI, like you said earlier, it's going to have a tremendous impact on the growth of the organizations in the next 3 years. If I look at Africa, for example, the government out there is really, really kicking off AI. They recently launched the AI strategy for the whole, country, and looking at how the parastatals and the government agencies within the country start to embrace AI to look at gross domestic product within the leadership and the government in Nigeria. So I think not just in an organization, if we look at government as well, like there's a lot of, even in Korea as well, there's a big proponent of AI. The summit we're in, focusing on deep tech and AI around that educational aspect as to here are various use cases of AI in the financial sector, in the healthcare sector, and leaders are embracing this now for productivity and efficiency gains as well.
Yeah, completely agree. I like to say that to me, AI is shaping the leadership from decision makers to decision enablers, right? What does it mean? Leadership needs to create an ecosystem of teams to provide them, to help them to take the better decisions. How to create a department of data, department of insights, the specific department of Gen AI, for example. That's the reason why I think AI is reshaping this role, no? From decision makers, traditionally for the leaders, to decision enablers. Here, maybe it's important to say where is the correct point between this intuition from the leaders and the use of AI to take their decisions. Where, from your perspective, where is the exactly point where leaders must be managed? That is a complicated question.
Absolutely. I think we need to look at it in a holistic perspective, right? I feel it, and I keep saying this when I'm on conferences and speaking, even to my team, I keep saying it's man and machine, not man versus machine. So the more we embrace, we're building AI, we're building this fast technology. I was on the startup pitch competition yesterday, and we're talking about quantum computing. Like, it's mind-blowing, the technology advances that human beings have been capable of. So coming back to your question, it's more around ensuring that leaders see this as an enabler and an enhancer, like you said, developing new skill sets, things like emotional intelligence, things like AI literacy and the likes.
Yeah. And for doing this, obviously, the capabilities must be updated because AI enhances us as a human, as we said at the beginning, because AI frees us to be more creative, to be more human somehow. So from your perspective, what skills must be acquired by leadership and entrepreneurs for the next years to navigate into this new wave?
So it's interesting. I think I'm going to look at it from just the general skills the upskilling needed with new technology rather than just focus on leaders and entrepreneurs, because there are folks in the audience now that might want to change their jobs because AI is popping everywhere. You know, you might be a digital marketer and you're like, hey, I want to understand how, you know, I could use AI to get, you know, 30% raise of my salary, for example, or, you know, I want to, you know, move to Dubai, you know, and get a better job or X, Y, Z. There are a number of skills that are needed. I think, you know, digital literacy within AI is needed. And I'm not talking about the technical part of understanding the large language models. I'm talking about just the application of ChatGPT in itself, you know, Mid-Journey for images. There are loads of them. Just understanding, how do I make my work more productive? So being a little bit more tech savvy and experimental. You know, if you look at social media, there's quite a lot of them. You know, there's TikTok, there's Instagram, there's Snapchat, and it's fairly easy to use. And I think the user interfaces of these new AI tools and products are the same. So once we're able to start jumping into these tools and understanding how we can aid these tools for productivity, the better. I talked about this earlier, emotional intelligence, right? Now that we have AI enhancing, you know, our current day-to-day from a leadership perspective or from an entrepreneurial perspective, we need to now look at, okay, the human aspect of work, the human aspect of problem solving, you know, the psychological aspect. Now imagine, and pardon me for this example, you know, imagine a lady, you know, going through a menstrual cycle within the workplace, right? And, you know, your boss is not really understanding, you know, the dilemma, the challenges you're going through at that period of time, and not understanding how to ensure that, hey, yes, there's AI, yes, there's an expectation of you to perform at 100%, but understanding, hey, because of what you're going through, you need to be more emotionally adapted to the situation. And I think leaders and entrepreneurs need to understand that better and just be more intentional when it comes to emotional intelligence.
Jimmy, I love your answer because I think AI is going to shift this artificial intelligence area to the emotional intelligence area.
Absolutely.
Because artificial intelligence help the leaders to take care about the most important thing, that is their teams. And this applies also to entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurs, they are going to have teams. And without the people, the ideas, they can't come true. So I love that idea that AI is not going to replace us, it's going to enhance, it's going to augment us. But not for doing just tasks like, no, it's to help us to do the most important tasks related to the human being. Let's shift a gear and let's talk about one of the most important topics, because I think you are a pro on that. From your perspective, opportunities and challenges that the entrepreneurs they are going to have in this area. You have many time here to explain, and before your answer, I give you some story. Sam Altman came to our university last year, and in a conversation with us, he said that in the next years, most of the unicorns that will be created will be created by only 2 or 3 staff members, thanks to AI possibilities. Because obviously there are new oceans of possibilities, right? But it's important to talk also about the challenges, and I think you have a perfect voice to talk about this.
Absolutely, and you know, thank God for the opportunity to be privileged enough not just work in the sector, but build a tool or product using AI directly. So we have a product called Hilda. I promise you, I'm not selling. I'm just educating. But if you want to buy, you know, talk to us after. In terms of opportunities, I talked about job creation, job movement, migration. That is definitely an opportunity AI is creating, you know, with the innovation and the use cases. So a practical example is upskilling. Now, two years ago, we had a copywriter at my organization, and you know, we paid him X, right? And ChatGPT came, and literally what took him, you know, 2 days to do was done in 30 minutes. And we had to have a frank conversation, right? We had to repurpose his role and himself into a different team within the marketing team and save time, using ChatGPT and other tools around content production, for example. So that is a classic example where AI is not taking the job, it's enhancing, and for us as leaders, we're able to detect that, hey, there is still a livelihood needed with this employee. We're not just going to fire him and say, hey, there's ChatGPT, we don't need you again. It's understanding the skill sets and moving him within the team where more of his creativity and passion was utilized, right? Another opportunity is, economic, right? Between Saudi Arabia and Nigeria and Africa, at a larger context, AI is suggested to bring in about $320 billion within, between now and 2030. That is a huge economic value across, those regions. And let's talk about the challenges, right? I'm fortunate enough to be building an AI tool, and I have a 7-year-old son, Samuel. He plays Roblox, and I've seen a lot of tailored AI, solutions within Roblox. And at times, I play with him as well. He's like, Daddy, let's jump in a game together. And we jump in and we're playing. And I'm like, oh, okay, they could do this cool stuff. I'll steal that and tell my product team and add this feature. But where I'm getting at with this is I could see the whole possibilities of AI. And genuinely, I am scared. Like in 11 years' time when he's 18 years old, like what we know now and the next 11 years, like genuinely, I am scared. Like, I look at him, I look at my daughter, and I'm like, shoot, man, how do we put safeguards? How do we work with regulators to ensure that, policies and, safeguards are put in not just from an economic perspective, but how do we use this across borders as well? Because, like the last guys, were talking about jurisdiction policies, in Korea, in US, in Saudi, in Africa, and the likes. But how do we do this at a global scale? So for me, that is one of the challenges, using AI for nefarious purposes, that is scary. Like, you literally don't want to know.
To me, for example, when we talk about opportunities, we have many opportunities, but all of these opportunities, to me, are also the challenges.
Yeah.
Because our opportunities for the entrepreneurs, for one entrepreneur, but it's also an opportunity for the other one.
Yeah.
And that means there is a huge competition out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's complicated. I remember once, 2 months ago, a guy who was asking for money to bring reality their idea. They told us that the technology is going so fast, and whenever they are the first players to do something, in 2 weeks, someone else have done the same, or they produce a specific product to do something, no? So you need to be, that is a message for all the entrepreneurs, you need to be aware, not only for the technology for doing your things come true, but also to be aware of your new competition, right? Well, talking about AI is not possible if we don't talk about the ethics, the ethical aspects that accompany to AI. Jimmy, from your perspective, what are the main considerations that leadership and entrepreneurs they need to take into account regarding that ethical key aspects? And second question, how they can ensure they are using these considerations to their products?
Thanks for the question. I think I touched on a little bit of ethics in my response to the last question. And as leaders and entrepreneurs, I think we need to work closely with the government folks, right? And it's really, really important, right? However, let me break down a scenario where there's a challenge in that. Now, your data scientist at OpenAI earns about, well, depending on their grade, earns about $500,000 to $900,000, right? And he has way more experience than a civil servant or a government worker in a country trying to pose the regulations, right? And obviously we know there's a lot of bureaucracy in government. So it's like, how do you match that? You know, someone earning high earning potential, technical know-how, and someone on the other side that barely knows anything but is in a position to regulate is like, hey, you need to do this. And it's like, no, I need to do this. This is how you do it. So I think that collaboration and partnership between leaders in the private organization, startup entrepreneurs need to work collaboratively with the government. And it's happening. In Saudi Arabia, the Saudi Data and AI Authority, SADIA, they launched the AI Ethical Framework version 2.0 last year, September. And that was co-created with a couple of startups and international universities as well. So again, ensuring the private sector is a core component of those frameworks, right? Because at the end of the day, like I said, the economic impact is huge with the use of AI, and so is the bad actors of AI. So it's thinking through how do we start to frame AI from an ethic perspective, with policy, with regulation. What does that mean for the average person that uses ChatGPT, for example? And then take it from there. Like in Nigeria as well, I know recently this year, they launched the national AI strategy for the whole country. So I think everyone is starting to look at this to say, hey, we need to take this seriously. In Dubai, for example, I think every government parastatal has a chief AI officer, again, taking it seriously. Like, how do we look at this across, the country, across the continent, across the regions? How do we ensure safeguards are in place and all of that? So I think it's starting to get there, but obviously there's always going to be a lapse with timeline. Like you said, the technology is moving faster than regulation. The technologies, the use cases, like, we're about to do some work with the NHS in the UK, and from an ethics perspective, we're ensuring that we're not touching clinical data with some of the stuff we're doing. And even if we are going to touch clinical data, like the governance around it is like so mind-blowing that I've just told my team, hey, let's do the efficiency part for now as a pilot. Let's get that over the line. And then once there's an appetite for clinical data in use of AI, then we look at all of that. But it is, the regulations, the governance is starting to become very, very complex at the moment, so, which is good, because you want all the parties involved. You want the government, you want the private sector, you want the universities as well involved in co-creating frameworks and policies to keep each and every one of us safe using AI.
Completely agree. Frameworks are necessary, must be adapted not only by the governments, but also for the companies. I would like to add two extra points to your answer. For example, to me, it's quite important to be transparent. As a company, you can be transparent. I mean, when we talk about the embeddings, for those that the technology behind the magic behind the curtains, whenever we want to show these embeddings, you can be transparent. You can be transparent the way you are modifying the prompts, modifying your artificial intelligence to interact with your clients, for example. And second point to me is quite important is we need to avoid biases. How you can do this? Obviously, the models, they have biases. Maybe you don't want to have biases, but you have it. Depending on your data you are training the model, or depending the information you introduce in your context, whenever you ask any question to an LLM, maybe you are introducing biases. So you need to identify these biases by doing tests, a lot of tests. And this is quite important to do. So these are the two other points that I would like to your answer. Well, I think we are running out of time. It was a pleasure to be here with you today here. Jimmy, thank you very much. It was a pleasure to meet you 2 days ago.
Thank you.
Before online. You are a fantastic guy. I love our conversation we had. Thank you very much for being here. And let's see you around, no?
Absolutely. Thank you all for taking your time to listen to us, and thanks to the organizers as well for having me here. Thank you, Kiko.
Thank you.